My name is Mollie Pate. I've been in the Louisiana Philharmonic for 19 years as principal horn. Before Hurricane Katrina happened, I think everyone kind of knew it was coming for a couple days. But you weren't really sure what was going to happen. You were kind of hoping it wasn't going to be a Category 5 hurricane. And I was in California doing a summer festival in Laguna Beach. In my home, I had just bought my first house 5 months before Hurricane Katrina. So I had always rented up until that point. And I was like, well, maybe somehow my house is higher than Elysian Fields is and it will be fine. But that was not the case. And my dad went with me in October. It was like the first time they were letting people come in. And this was about a month after Katrina. So I was just sitting in Houston trying to figure out what I was going to do because I had no idea. But I knew that most likely my house had damage. I just wasn't sure how much at that point. And my father came with me. We took his Tahoe and we went in the house. We had hazmat suits on and masks. We opened the front door and it's just the smell that you can't even fathom, really. It was disgusting. It was very emotional, but I think you just kind of held it in, and then because you just couldn't believe what was happening. Like, you couldn't believe it, but you just accepted it because that's all you could do. You had to just accept that that was what it was. So you learned to not hold on to material things and value like the untouchable things, like value, humans, human life, and things like music. Things that you can't put a monetary value on. And like, I even know the year, like the months to follow, I haven't even cried. I haven't cried like in years over this, but like, it's something that you can't explain. And I remember even when I came back a year and a half later, I would drive to my house and just sit in front of it and I would just cry. And I don't know why I did that, but it was just like, I think you remember, it's just the time, you just remember the time and the things that you went through. And I'm like so lucky because, I just lost things. I didn't lose a human life. A lot of people had family members who died. And again, like, I feel so fortunate because I was in Houston and people reached out to me. Like, people in the Houston Grand Opera offered me a third horn job that I played for a year and a half. People in the Nashville Symphony invited me to play with them. People in Pacific Symphony invited me to play with them, and I went on a 2-week tour to Europe, all expenses paid, trip to Europe. And just because I was a musician, and musicians around the country reached out and helped. So this is a picture of my house post Katrina. It had 7 feet of water and it sat here for about a year and a half before I ended up selling it for probably like a third of what it was worth. Like, it was basically I got my deposit back on, or my down payment on my house. The one thing that I did find, Jane Gabka actually, our second oboe player, she came in with me probably it was the last time I went in to try to salvage anything. She found this one picture and it was in a frame. It was the only picture that survived. It was a picture of my brother and I when I was 5 and he was 2, and we were holding this goat of my Uncle Pat's, and I was holding it and it was eating his hair. And it was like the funniest picture, but it was like a small picture, and it's the only one I had left, so it was probably the best picture I could have had too, So the year and a half I was away in Houston, I had a lot of time to think about what I was going to be doing. Like, was I going to go back to New Orleans, or was I going to stay and play with Houston Grand Opera because their season was awesome. Paid great money. But I think the thing missing for me was the family that I had created here in New Orleans with the musicians, and the fact that I loved my job as principal horn. Again, going through the Katrina experience, Like the only thing people talked about that I heard in the city was the huge part that was missing is the music and culture that the city was built on. And the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra, I think, is a huge part of that. You know, that people realized even more so that was missing from the city when we weren't here to play. So a couple orchestras really came to our aid. Nashville Symphony did a huge benefit concert for us. They didn't take any money themselves. They invited us to play with them, and it was pretty amazing. And the concert in New York also, the New York Philharmonic guys were so funny and so nice. I remember playing next to Phil Myers, and it was so loud that I just stopped and like started laughing because I was like, I can't believe how amazing this is. And then I remember Jerome Ashby, backstage, we went to his locker, and he offered us like scotch. He had scotch in his locker, and he's like, yes, this with 2 bananas is just so relaxing. So I'll never forget that. When I first got my job in New Orleans, we were playing in the Orpheum Theater, and that theater was amazing. The thing that I remember the most about the Orpheum was the acoustics. It was one of the most vibrant, like, ringing or singing halls that I've played in. And I think the thing is, I want the community to be as excited about the Orpheum coming back as much as the musicians are. Like seeing the orchestra and performing with the orchestra before Hurricane Katrina, then going through Katrina, and then seeing all of the new young musicians who have come in to help rebuild, to help grow the orchestra musically and personally, professionally, and then get to this point where they've been playing in the Mahalia Jackson Theater for the last, 5 to 10 years as they come in, and then now they have this opportunity to play in the Orpheum that they've never gotten to perform in, and very few of us have. It's so exciting to see where we can keep going with this, and I'm hoping that the community will be just as excited about our growth, like from where we've come from to where we are going, as the musicians are.